installation on the trigger pack for the MPX. This one. So it's a 2-stage trigger from CRUSADER for the VFC. This one is already installed, and we're just going to do a quick showcase on how fast it can go. So, holding bolt lock. So yeah, that's pretty nice. Can show you the brake on it first. Alright. So I get maybe 1.5 mm of reset and roughly one mm of slack on the front, and the trigger is now extremely light, so I can double tap or more if I wanted to. Yeah, I think this is a really good upgrade for this gun specifically, because the original, which I have here, the original is very, very tight. It's roughly 4 pounds? 4 pounds-ish on trigger pull for the brake. But the reset doesn't have any slack, which is really nice, I think. Yeah, so it's a direct pull for the brake. Yeah, so depends on your preference, but I prefer the upgraded trigger for 2-stage. Okay, so for the trigger wise, first thing I did was to change this stock trigger pack into the CRUSADER 2-stage trigger. So the benefit of having this trigger is your trigger pull can be controlled and adjusted. So I prefer my trigger to be very light and the reset for the wall to be in the front, so I can do minimal movements on my fingers for a quick reset. So I can double tap really fast on this gun. So I'll have some footage later to show you. So how you do this is by taking off the full auto sear first, and then you take off the hammer pin and also the trigger. And you can, supposedly you don't actually have to take off the selector. I skipped this step because my gun, the thread of the selector seems to be fucked, so I'm not doing that. I'm just going to do a quick demo on how to do this. Yeah, so first things first. So, sear, full auto sear, this one. So when you do that, just hold on to the spring in case it flies off. So you have the spring and the selector. Second thing you want to do is make sure everything is released. Hammer. So hammer, it goes on either side. You can do both. Okay. When you do this, again, just hold the hammer in case anything flies out, and then you can pull the hammer out. For the trigger, so also either side, doesn't matter. this one, push the trigger down because the spring will have a lot of tension and it will fly out, so just be careful on this one. Because I didn't take the selector out, so I had to wiggle this in earlier. So when you're doing this, turn the selector onto the safety side and you'll have enough wiggle space for the trigger to sit in. So yeah, that's basically it. And now just do a quick review on the trigger itself. So there's actually two grub screws here, the right and the left. For this MPX specifically, you have to adjust the left one that you have to adjust first. You gotta screw this one a bit in because it doesn't have enough space for the hammer to actually go lower. So if you don't do this, the trigger will get stuck and you won't be able to release the trigger actually. So screw this all the way down first, then slowly adjust up. And the right side is for the slack, if I'm correct. So it's this piece. This piece you can adjust it anyhow you want, but just also go down first. Don't let it too far up, because these moving parts will have the most friction on the sides. So just put some on the sides of the trigger. Yeah, I don't care about the messy fingers, so if you want, just use a glove. So yeah, this spring will have to sit in the front of the chassis, so you want this trigger to go in. Okay, there you go. And then the pins. Either side is fine, but generally speaking, there is grooves on one side of the pin, so I would use that as a marker just for reference. You can supposedly put those. They do come with rings, so spacers, I should say, for your sides of the pins. But because the MPX body is slightly too tight, I don't recommend you putting it in because then it will create too much friction for your trigger to be too stuck. So yeah. Also, adjust correctly. Okay, now that's in. Okay. And then hammer again. Okay. It's this way. And then. Okay. There we go. So this clip should face forward and the spring should be facing this way. And you can put this back in. Okay. Okay. Close. Okay, there we go. So just push trigger and push the hammer down a little bit so you can wiggle it in. And again, face the grooves on one side just so you know which side. Then you can push your pin in. Okay. And then reset. Yeah. So last thing, what else here? Keep the strings the same. Oh, that's a lot of cat hair. Safety works. Semi works. Okay. The hop up. So the thread itself will have the barrel will have the thread. I'm gonna take off the accessories first, because the front rail has a gap, which actually is 2-piece. So you need to take off whatever that's clamping on the front, and then you need to. So that's done. You can pull the whole handguard out. Just be careful. There's this pin is actually a separate piece. So yeah. And then you can do the 2 hex screws on the right side of the trigger. I mean, sorry, on the front chassis. Take those out. Done as well. So there's also a final pin that's here that you need to remove. So you can just push it out. And then your 2 screws and the rings. You can just take the whole barrel out like this. So how do you adjust the hop? It's actually this barrel, this dial here. And from my opinion, the design of the hop is actually pretty solid, but the QC of some of the parts are a little messed up. So if your gun is over hopping in the beginning, it generally means the hop up arm inside the chamber itself is overpressured and being pushed down too much. So how you can fix this, first is dismantle everything first. There's 2 hex screws which you have to remove. Oh, yeah. One sec. I also need to remove the front barrel. So I've actually untightened this a lot already. So generally speaking, there should be some hex glue, Loctite on the threads. So you might need to burn a little bit on this and then turn it out. So this is facing this way, anti-clockwise. So once you get this off, you can pull the whole assembly out. Sorry, just finding the screws so I don't lose them. You take the 2 screws out and you can take the whole piece off. So yeah, that's that. And then I'm using a TM MP7 barrel, mainly because the stock barrel seems to be a bit tight on the lips, so most of the BBs were getting too much tension and being pressured in. So I proprietary cut the barrel, not the barrel, the hop-up rubber to slot into the assembly of the hop-up chamber. So this is the piece that actually applies the hop. So I've also identified some issues with this. If your barrel itself, the bridge is too small, the ring that hooks onto the barrel that is applied on the chamber will actually apply too much pressure in the front of the bridge. So all the BBs will actually have too much hop in the front instead of the actual place where the nub is in the rubber. So I'm going to do some small DIY to see if I can fix this actually. Instead of using this string, I am going to just not use anything or use Teflon tape to make it tight so it doesn't eat this to secure it. I'm gonna try and see if I can do this now actually. Okay, so hop is actually being applied correctly here. So when you install this, keep the hop up to the lowest setting as possible, and then you screw on, because just in case it wiggles around too much and it pushes too much pressure on the arm and adjusts rubber. I think this is the correct call. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So now, just to test, pick up some BBs and see whether there's pressure. So right now, the BB has no hop, and if I should gently push down the BB, there shouldn't be any pressure or too much pressure. Okay. Yep. And then if I apply a lot of pressure, hop should be much tighter. Yeah, there we go. So now, if I'm on max hop, the BB doesn't actually go in at all. Halfway. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this all the way down first. Okay, perfect. Okay, reassembly. Okay. There you go. Okay, perfect. And back in. Okay. Oh, not this side. Okay. One screw. Okay, so screw in the bolt. The tip part should be facing up. Just hold onto the bolt on top and then the pin. Perfect. Then reassembly. Oops. So if this piece does come off, just align the tiny, there's a nub on the tip, just align it with the handguard and push it back in. Align it to the hole and you're good. And then you want to put the screw back on. Okay. Okay. If the bolt does come off, just lift the silver tab and then you can gently push the bolt in. Don't do it too hard. If the bolt doesn't go in, that means you haven't aligned the bolt correctly. So just push it back out and slowly insert it correctly. So there shouldn't be any friction. And the whole bolt should go in. And then, yeah, cap. All right, okay. I'm using 0.25 tracers on the lowest hop setting. All right.